Hey, what's up guys? And if you read the latest post that I posted in the community tab, I've been having some personal problems, but they're all dealt with now, so I'm back. So expect regular What If schedule, so yeah. Here is part 6 of What If Naruto was neglected with Chaos Magic. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King of What If Naruto Was the Sin of Pride, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and the first time you hear my voice, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So don't forget to go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we begin this new episode? Let's begin now guys. So, to do a bit of a recap for the last part that we left off, Orochimaru was confused as he found himself unable to attack Naruto, and he couldn't understand why he could not. It made no sense, as Naruto told him to remember. Just that one word triggered a memory for the Sannin. As they flashed back to the forest, it turns out that what Orochimaru saw was not reality. He died. Yes, Orochimaru died. The Sannin was utterly shocked, to the point that he did not even move. He died in the forest of death. And Naruto brought him back, but not as himself, as a completely different individual. As Naruto then stripped every single part of him away that he once was, turning him into something completely different. As for the invasion, Naruto decided to make his move. He went straight for Ino, as he enjoyed the look on Menma's face, as he took her life right in front of Menma's eyes, breaking Menma to the point that he released the power of the 9 tails. It then turned out that Naruto was not here for the entire month. All of the Sound Ninjas started to massacre the Sand Ninjas before they took their own life, as all of that energy rushed towards Naruto. The pentagram marking, it was on their heads. He smiled as he blended in the energy together before he left the village. Some time later, everything was chaotic. Inoichi lost his daughter, and it broke a part of him. His own focus right now, his only goal and focus right now, was to find and kill Naruto. Nothing else, nothing more. But he was not the only one. Menma also desired the death of Naruto, and nothing will stop him. So he got to work. Menma started to train more than he's ever trained in his entire life. It got really bad. Really bad. To the point where Minato and Kushina had to step in. They wanted to make him grieve, but they had to move in. They had to make sure that he was taking care of himself, something that he was not doing, as Mito tried to be there for him as well. However, watching the girl that he come to love die in front of his eyes broke a part of him. We then skipped to Orochimaru and Naruto, as Orochimaru was trying to understand who or what he is right now, as Naruto proceeded to explain to him that he wasn't the man that he was before. He was an acolyte of his now. Orochimaru was also trying to understand Naruto's powers and abilities. It turns out that Naruto has not reached nowhere close to 100%. Chaos was just that, chaos. However, he was the only being in existence that would be able to master it, and once he does, once he breaks through that wall and ascended, nothing would be able to hold him back anymore. Absolutely nothing. Weeks turn into months. During that time, Naruto and Orochimaru went to every single one of Orochimaru's bases and slaughtered his men. For good reason, as Naruto kept on, absorbing their essence once he killed them. Not just them, the Sound 4, and all the others. Thousands of ninjas were falling. Jiraiya was hot on their tail as he arrived towards the Netsuko village that was consisting of all female warriors. Upon arriving there, Jiraiya saw a rather horrific sight. Thousands dead. It was a true massacre. And Naruto and Orochimaru were behind this all. Minato had seen everything, knowing that Naruto was using the Sannin like a puppet. They had to find him and they had to stop him. However, this problem was much more bigger than Konoha. It concerned the entire elemental nation. Jiraiya was trying to get Minato to realize they needed help. Everyone had to come together for this. If not, they will all die. So with that, a few more weeks pass. As Naruto and Orochimaru could be seen, they were heading towards Kiri. Upon arriving there, they quickly got to work. Yagura and Anvu stood no chance. They were massacred by Orochimaru. They were wiped out. They were like nothing. Orochimaru once had small limitations placed on him, but now, because of Naruto upgrades, he was a completely different monster. And it shows, as Naruto decided to have a chat with Yagura. Skipping towards where the rebellion forces were, they were alerted by the commotion in the village. However, Naruto arrived, along with Orochimaru, who stopped before he could reach anywhere close. And there was a good reason for that, as Naruto started to cause mayhem that the Sannin would have been caught up in. Naruto took on Maid Terumi herself. The woman was strong and fast. However, she wasn't able to get him, as Naruto summoned the One Tails, the modified One Tails that was imbued with chaos energy, as he let it loose on the main village, and Yagura was nowhere to be seen. As Naruto stood there, he created the same attack. However, unlike the one that he did on Kakashi, this was on a much more higher level. A far distance away, Ino's lifeless corpse was lying down. However, all the dead, the energy started to rush into her. And slowly, that same pentagram that was in Naruto's palm arrived on her head as her eyes open up. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the play check to your sub so we begin this new episode. Don't forget to turn on the bell notification. Let's begin now guys. We begin this new episode within Kiri. A loud shout. Several ninjas combining their technique. Ninja art, water style, raging dragon. The shout of a chorus. There was dozens of them. The collaboration technique formed all the powerful dragons into one and created a behemoth with yellow eyes as it roared. The newly created beast charged towards its target. However, they were all baffled when said target maw, the lower half of its mouth, dropped so low and inhaled their technique. They were all beyond shock. They stood there motionless, all ninjas, frozen in their step, when the thing suddenly roared. What followed was a gust unlike any other ever seen before. Buildings, houses were ripped out of the ground. Bodies, everything in that vicinity was blasted to sunders, sent all over the place. It was a true definition of destruction and chaos. Standing there, once said to be one of the Great Nine, The One-Tails, while the weakest, still possessing unbelievable power, but now the once powerful Sand Raccoon was not the same. Starting from its eyes were blood red. Yes, there was no pupil, nothing, just a thirst, a hunger for chaos and destruction. It now possessed 4 arms. Unsaid arms were black, thorny spikes that were bigger than gigantic buildings. One could crush a literal mountain. The beast had been tripled in size, dwarfing over every building and every monument within Kiri. Its lower half remained the same, however its tail was producing this red mist. When in contact of individuals, people nearby, it seemed to be affecting them greatly. Too much exposure will cause a fit of insanity. Allies start to attack one another as their system got overridden and their body was thrown into nothing but chaos. The beast's body had strange black markings on it. It was like a virus infecting it. Its mouth was wide open to the point that it could literally swallow all the houses and buildings in the vicinity. Its body being made of sand allowed it the versatility to shift and twist its body in strange ways. As Naruto had completely changed the beast after tearing it out of Gaara, which ended his life, fear and panic started to set out within the village. Their Mizukage was nowhere to be seen, and this was getting worse and worse. A distance away, Orochimaru of the Sannin could be seen, running away, as he was holding the unconscious form of Yagura. Both of his eyes had a red mist over it that was keeping him within this state, courtesy of Naruto, when they decided to pay him a visit. Orochimaru was getting away as fast as possible, told to do so by his master because what was going to come next was something that he would have to witness from afar. Over to the other side, Mei Terumi blazed through hand sign as she spewed a jet of water that cut through rocks like they were made of paper. However, flipping and running, as he moved with such speed, she could not get a hold of him. Dropping down was a young boy named Kojiro with one of the 7 special blades. Shaped like a hammer, he smashed the ground where Naruto once was. However, Naruto was long gone. Ao sent several kunas and shurikens directly toward his face. However, he simply waved his hand, and a force that were not seen by them deflected all of it. He kept on running away, as Mei cursed. He was more agile and nimble than they thought. But something was not right, as Mei had seen the massive construct that had surrounded this entire island, but not just this one, the main island of Kiri as well. He was buying time, but for what? Turning her gaze towards a monstrosity that she could feel and see from here. She needed to get over there and stop this. She had to, because if she did not, there would be no more village left to fight for. Mei took off in a mad sprint, with the sole intention of killing Naruto to get past. Her speed pushing to its max, showing why she was deserving of her title of leading the rebellion forces. Her body was being covered by a strange mist as she moved, as she started to permeate her chakra all through her, ready to strike him down with one powerful attack. She flashed through hand signs. He was right within her grasp. Ninja art, she said, as she combined 2 nature together to create lava. It surrounded her. Multiple lava balls twisting and coming to life in mid-air. Kojiro and Ao moving out of the way. The attacks came down with a ferocity. There was no way that he would be possibly able to avoid all of that. And she was right, as one slammed directly into his chest another one into his side, and one burned off the right side of his face. The entire area was destroyed as Mei landed downwards, moving towards his corpse with the intention of ending him if that didn't already do the trick. However, the closer she got, the more she felt something was not right. She then heard it. Laughter. Smoke and dust clear as she looked down towards him. He was a mess. His face was burnt off, his body was bleeding. He was about to die anytime soon. As Mei slowly approached, despite this weird sensation as he started to speak, "You know, I've gotten really good at manipulating reality itself. Don't you think?" He raised his hand towards her as she prepared herself. However, he snapped his finger, and a red mist vanished. Kojiro, Ayo, Mei's eyes went wide when they saw all of their allies. Every single member of the rebellion. They were all dead. Around them was a literal army of the undead. Their eyes, red, soulless. No words, no grunt, nothing. They just stood there, waiting for their next command. As Naruto chuckled, "It's good to have an army. They're quite the deterrent force, isn't it?" "You monster," she said. "Do you have any idea what you've done? These people, they've done nothing to you. And you've taken their life for what? Fun? Jokes? You sit there smiling like it's all okay. But I promise you, it will not be okay for you. What do you think is gonna happen once you do kill me? They're going to attack. We will get through this," she said. "And we will stop all of this that you have caused today. This is Kiri. And one idiotic, psychotic child would not make this village fall." Wow. I would love to have you a part of my army. You know, once one do join me, many think that the dead is simply soulless and emotionless, but they retain everything. I make it so, except for their personality and who they once were. And you're fit to lead a portion of my army, while I take everything." Mei stepped forward as she raised her hand, kunai in place as she pressed her knee down on his chest. She drove it directly into his chest. No hesitation, ending his life without a second thought, as he died right there and then. However, something wasn't right. She could feel it. Suddenly, all the undead started to turn into mists, their body folding into a tiny red ball. Mei watches all of them travel into the... Every thought paused in her mind when she saw the real one. There Naruto sat in the air. His entire body was cloaked in a red aura, as it seems like hands were crawling out of the space behind him, like the very essence of reality was being twisted. His eyes were closed. All of the undead floated back towards him as he opened his mouth. They flew into him. He devoured them all. Mei heard laughter as she looked down, the one that she just killed. The kunai was still in his heart. "Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm just a copy, a duplicate. The real one is up there. And it seems I've bided enough time, so it's time for me to go." With that, he turned into mist and flew into the real Naruto, who suddenly opened his eyes. There was a smile on his face as he took in everything. He held his hand out. The monstrosity that once was a nine-tail, which was Chaos One, floated back towards him. It turned into a ball, around the size of a tennis ball. Naruto opened his mouth as he swallowed it. His body seemed to fluctuate, as there was this ripple that spread over him. It started to spread over the entire islands. He started to laugh before he lifted his head to the sky. He then screamed. As it spread, May stepped back as the ground started to crack. She watched as all of her people, something was being pulled out of them, a red aura. Naruto screamed and screamed. Ayo pushed May out of the way. As she turned to see him, a good thing though, his body was swallowed by a giant tornado. It came out of nowhere. He screamed as inside his body was being ripped apart, piece by piece. May turned, Kojo, she shouted, but it was too late. Lava exploded from underneath the earth. It burned the boy into nothingness. It was chaos. The massive ocean started to behave unnaturally. Naruto started to release chaos everywhere over the islands. Massive, gigantic tsunamis rose up and then came down, cracking the foundation of Kiri, wiping out civilization, swallowing entire islands one by one. Lava erupted from the ground. A gust unlike any other started to rip the sky apart. It seems like the very air itself was being torn open, and out of that was a deadly pressure that ripped buildings asunder, tore shinobis to pieces. The tower was being picked up. Pieces started to be thrown and impaled all over. As May duck and dodge and jump, trying to evade and escape it all as she ran towards Naruto to stop him, as he was causing all of this, releasing all of that power that he's just gathered, spreading chaos so wide. Lava shooted out, swallowing buildings. The island started to sink. They started to burn. The entire island of Kiri split down the middle as the left section fell. It was being dragged down within the deep sea. The massive island that was, large just like the hidden leaf. Half of it was being pulled down. Chaos was taking everything in stride. Everything was being wiped out. Everything was being destroyed. Orochimaru, who stood a distance away, now understood why it took his master so long. And this was just the tip of the iceberg, because his master had not yet reached anywhere close to the full power that he was supposed to have. As he stood there, feeling proud, he just felt so happy. If it wasn't one thing, he felt like he was about to cry. To see his master at work, it was truly brilliant. There was no one that was powerful than him. He deserved it. He deserved all the Sanin thought. As he watched with glee and happiness swelling up inside of him, meanwhile May leaped as she was about to strike him down. However, the moment his gaze landed on her, she knew it was over. An eruption of power exploded outwards. The entire place was illuminated by a dark red light. It was like the heavens were bleeding and the ocean was leaking blood. It took a couple of minutes for the dust and smoke to clear away. Mei Terume was on the ground. Her right arm was mangled and ripped. Her left leg was bent in an odd angle. There was a huge gouge in her side, as the side of her face had been burnt off completely. As it seems like, through that collision, lightning flames had exploded outwards. She puked up blood as she tried to move, but even a single breath was agony. She heard footsteps as Naruto came into view. He knelt down right beside her as he lay on the ground. Facing her side to side, he smiled as he ran a hand down her cheek, causing her to wince. A shame that I had to mess up that pretty little face of yours. Her one working hand lashed out, trying to grab his neck. However, he caught her hand and smiled. A blood-curdling scream could be heard, resonating from the area. Moments later, Naruto could be seen as he was floating above the ocean, where he took a deep breath and exhaled. The wind started to gather around him. The ocean started to stir. Everything was being affected as Naruto inhaled. Countless orbs of red energy shoot towards him. He swallowed every single one of them. The more he took, the more his power skyrocketed. The more his strength grew. All around him was chaos and destruction. Countless were dead. Some survived, but it wouldn't be for too long. There were thousands that were injured. Thousands upon thousands that died in the collision. Bodies ripped and torn apart. Crying could be heard. And throughout all that chaos and mayhem, Naruto was laughing. A blood-chilling laugh that spread throughout the entire place. Time skip. Both Orochimaru and Naruto arrive towards their next destination. The Sannin moved forward. However, the next moment, he jumped in front of his master as he felt the intent. There was a thick steel door in front of them that led into an underground system. However, that door was slashed. 5 red slashes could be seen. Orochimaru, with the sole intention to protect his master, was split into 5 pieces. As Naruto gazed down, "Well, isn't that a shame?" he said. As Naruto looked up, and he was greeted by those same eyes. The next moment, claws were placed at his throat. They seemed quite defenseless and normal, but they were sharp enough to cut through steel that easily. Judging from the amount of power now flowing through her system, "That was meant for you," she whispered to him. As Naruto did not even move, he simply looked at her. "I thought so," he said, "but it seems like you missed." "Don't do it," he said. But he wasn't talking to her though. He was talking to Orochimaru, who had put himself back together, and his hand was about to rip through her chest. The Sannin stopped instantly. However, the girl did not look behind her. It was Ino. She was new and improved. Her eyes were red. No longer their normal purple color, they were pure red. Her hair remained the same. Her face had this coldness about it. It was like touching her you will feel cold. She looked at Naruto. "You killed me," she said. "I did." She pressed her nails deeper at his throat, causing him to bleed. Naruto still did not move. "You took my life. I should rip your throat out for that," she said. "Well, you can," he said to her. "However, I killed you because I wanted you," he said. Naruto lashed out as he grabbed her hand and turned it away. As he stepped right into her, they were inches away from one another. "There was always something about you. Something that excited me. The fact that my brother claimed that he had you, it always angered me as well. I thought I just wanted to best him at everything, but I was wrong. It was you. There was something special about you. And I know from the moment I laid my eyes on you that I wanted you by my side. And it didn't matter what I had to do, even if I had to kill you to get what I desire. Yes, I'm selfish, I'm an asshole, I'm a problem. I know all of that already, but I don't care. Because I wanted you so, I made you mine. But not just mine alone. After all, you feel it, don't you? How exactly do you feel?" She looked at him for a moment, until that frown turned into a smile, to show that she was no longer the girl she once was. "I feel amazing," she said, causing Naruto to smile back. Time skip. Thousands of people lived here. Despite all the bloodshed in the past, despite the war, Thousands of people lived in this village. That was the thought running through the mind of one, Minato Namikaze, as he stood, looking at everything that had fallen on Kiri. The place was saturated with a strange, coursing sensation going through the air. It was not normal at all. As Minato looked around at all the destruction that had taken place, thousands falling down to a couple of hundreds. Minato did not even know if there was 100+ people still alive. Konoha was lending a helping hand. Despite the villages not being united, he knew that it was the least that he could do. Jiraiya was right, but it seems like he was too late. However, they wouldn't have listened to him to begin with. The Raikage, the Tishikage, they would not have listened to him. But now, they can see. For the first time since the creation of the 5 great nations, a great nation has fallen. And Minato knew exactly who was behind this all. Making his way as the envoys parted away, there was a couple corpses lined up, spelling out something. It was the word chaos. Word traveled fast around the elemental nation, incredibly so. As the weeks pass, letters arrive on each of the Kage's table. The right Kage examined said letter with a critical gaze. From Minato Namikaze, the only man in this world that was faster than him. After the situation with Kiri, as arrogant as he was, he wanted to know who exactly is his opponent. And as he can see, it was everyone that was being summoned. This threat, as he can now understand what happened within Konoha on that day, he needed to find out more information. Meanwhile, at the stone, Oniki, a man that despised Minato from the war, a man that wanted nothing to do with Konoha, even saw the importance of this meeting. Having no information on what is going on would lead to one's downfall. He hasn't lived for so long by not knowing his enemy, and for the simple fact that Minato Namikaze would reach out to him of all people, it just shows that this was more dangerous than even he could handle. As Oniki got to his feet, time skip, Jiraiya of the Sannin was jumping from tree branch to tree branch. As he made his way, he was moving as fast as he possibly can. He recently got some information, someone matching Naruto description. Upon showing a photo to a few people nearby, in the nearest town, they confirmed that he was here not too long ago. Following the trail, Jiraiya found himself arriving to a hideout. No doubt one of Orochimaru's old hideouts. Using a light reflector seal the Sannin blind in. As he slowly made his way down the base, Jiraiya noticed that there were guards there, talking and chatting amongst each other. He snuck past them all as he continued to make his way, hoping to find Naruto and end this once and for all. However, he noticed there were some giant pipes. It seemed to be connected to something big. He followed it. Arriving, Jiraiya found a massive containment pod. However, there was a person strapped down on a table nearby. The Sannin eyes widened. He rushed over and checked her pulse. It was her, Ino Yamanaka. It was Menma's girlfriend. Jiraiya was shocked she was alive. As he looked at the girl, she was restrained. She had bruises on her like. Jiraiya checked her nails. She was trying to defend herself, as there was blood under her nails. She started to stir as she was waking up. She saw him, her vision blurry. "No, stay away," she said. her eyes being a mix of purple and blue. She looked afraid. "No more, please. Don't hurt me," she said, as she was so terrified. "Calm down," Jiraiya said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to bring you back to the village." "You're lying. I won't fall for your trick again, Naruto. Just please don't hurt me," she begged. Jiraiya looked down at the girl with pity. They thought that she was dead, but she was alive. God knows what that monster had been doing to her. Jiraiya broke the restraints. She tried to fight him off, but he placed a seal on her forehead, placing her into an unconscious state. He had to get her out of here quietly. Jiraiya proceeded to summon a clone as they start to make their way. The Sannin jumped away as the entire wall was destroyed. Turning, Naruto was standing there along with the guards. "Of all the people, you damn Sannin, why do you have to come?" Jiraiya snarled as he saw the boy. No hesitation, right on market. Rasengan! However, one of the guards jumped in the way. The attack digging through his chest and throwing him. He slammed into the wall dead. The other two attacked, however, Jiraiya disarmed them quickly and slammed them into the wall. "I warned you from day one," said Jiraiya, "and you did just as I thought. And now I'm here to fulfill that promise I made to you so long ago." The Sannin rushed forward as Naruto cursed. Naruto started to run. Jiraiya telling the clone to go now. "You won't get away." The Sannin broke through the door as Naruto ran into a room. Jumping through a window, they went further as Naruto flipped up and crawled through a little section. Jiraiya ripped through with another Rasengan as they were back outside. Naruto turned towards him and held his hands out. The Sannin jumped as lightning zapped where he was. He was surprised, yet still he upped his speed. Naruto was unprepared that the Sannin kicked away his leg and drive a Rasengan into his gut. He wanted to end this quickly. Jiraiya exerted more force. However, he had to jump away. Naruto spat up blood. "Thanks for the assist," he said. Orochimaru now stood there. "You," the Sannin said, looking at his rival. "Past rival." "A little hand," Naruto said. Orochimaru helped him up as he held him steady, as Naruto looked like he was about to keel over. "I won't let you get away." Naruto spat. "You're stronger than I thought. A good thing I have backup." "Orochimaru," Jiraiya shouted. "I've known you for a very long time now. I know how strong your will is, as much as I hate that part of you. How could you let yourself be manipulated by this child? You know nothing of what is going on, Jiraiya. It's best if you simply head back home. I won't allow you to hurt him anymore." "Well, that's not gonna happen. I'm here for one thing and one thing only. That monster behind you slaughtered thousands. What did the people of Kiri ever did to you?" "Oh, nothing. I just choose to kill them for fun." Jiraiya clenched his fists. "I hope that is the same feeling that you get once I end your miserable life and put an end to all of this. You've caused enough pain. You've done enough damage." As Naruto smiled, but he spat up blood. "You really got me good, huh? Well, it doesn't matter. When I come back, I'll be stronger, and then I'll defeat you. And that's a promise. But you're not the only one. Tell my dear little family that I'll be back for them all." "You're not leaving here alive," Jiraiya said. "Well, you might want to ask them that," said Naruto, pointing behind him. Jiraiya turned as the remaining ninjas attacked him, forcing him to fight them off. In the process, Naruto and Orochimaru fled. Orochimaru picking him up and fleeing for his life. Jiraiya cursed as he demolished every last one of them. Damn it, he cursed, as they were long gone. And despite the Sannin being under Naruto control, he knew how to cover his trail rather good. Jiraiya could not get it though. How was he able to demolish Kiri like that? How was he able to defeat Orochimaru? From what he's seen, he wasn't even that strong. Damn it, there was still so many unknowns. More than enough reason for the entire world to know what they were up against. An entire nation has fallen because of this boy. Who's to say that he couldn't do it to the others? However, the moment they're well aware of what is truly going on, well, they should have a better standing in this war that is coming. As the Sannin took off, creating a clone to spread and search to see if he could find anything. What now? Orochimaru said, well, the real one. As both him and Naruto stood on a nearby cliff looking down, Jiraiya could not see them. The injured Naruto and Orochimaru vanished away in a red mist. Another statement of his ability to manipulate reality. As Naruto stood there, looking down toward the Sannin making a fuss. That Ino was real though. She was the real deal. This was all a part of the plan. A plan that she was more than willing to go along with. She was excited to play the role, she said. It would be fun to test her acting. As Naruto smiled, looking down there. Let him believe all of this is taking place. After all, the fear to know that I'm coming back and to know that I'll be stronger. I don't just want Konoha to know it but the entire world. Another big reason why we strike a great nation first. It's only a matter of time before they gather everyone to have a meeting of the ages. And I would be the problem right in the dead center, said Naruto, a grin stretching on his face. And during that time, I'll finally achieve what I've been longing for the longest time now. Full control, said Naruto as he clenched his fists. Time skip. Menma burst inside. He ran, like his life was depending on his next movements. However, Inoichi was already there, along with his beautiful wife. Minato saw his son arrive as Jiraiya stood there. Is it true? Menma said, sounding desperate and broken. He saw the tears coursing down Ino's mother's face. Is it true? Menma said. Minato nodded his head. Menma slowly stepped forward as he looked through the small glass that allowed him viewing in the room. He fell down to his knees, tears streaking down his face. She was alive. She's alive. He rejoiced in pure happiness and bliss. She's alive. Time skip. As much as Inoichi was glad to see his daughter, Minato's next orders was something that he didn't like. However, he wouldn't have anyone else from the clan do what he could not. They need to find out what happened. Clearly, countless of them saw her die. His hand had protruded right through her heart. How was she still alive? They had to find out if this was some sort of trick or something. They needed to know. Menma started to panic, believing that if Naruto was doing this just to mess with their mind, as Jiraiya had recalled everything from their battle, which was making it not very convincing to how Naruto was able to take down Kiri. Perhaps her memories would give some answers. The first few glances was horrific, as Inoichi was the most powerful out of their clan, allowing others to view these memories. The Hokage was one of them. Menma wanted to go as well. He wanted to see. As they ventured into her mind, they saw her strapped to a table. From the perception of how she was looking up as she was gaining consciousness, they could hear the Sannin's voice. Inoichi used his chakra to manipulate a physical form of what she could not see. How is she still alive? Orochimaru was asking Naruto. In the beginning, I was easily able to manipulate and get into someone's head, but now, I can do that on a larger scale. It wasn't hard to fool them in believing that my hand went through her chest. However, I had no intention of killing her. After all, she's what I will use to break Menma. I'll keep her alive for now, until we meet again. But by then, she will be beyond broken, to the point that she won't even remember who she is. I'll use that to make him suffer. I have other plans for the others. Inoichi was boiling. When Ino came to, Naruto started to hit her. And laughing as he did so, he zapped her with lightning. He burnt her. He slashed her across the face. He did so over and over again and then healed her. How he did so with his healing ability surprised them. And he repeated the process. He hurt her over and over again. He placed her under a genjutsu. He had her for weeks, and during that time he really lay down on her. All of them were feeling rage at the sight that they were seeing Inoichi had enough as he left. Releasing the technique, his mind was unfocused, his eyes were blurry. The amount of rage was so overwhelming that it was messing with his normal understanding and conception of everything. Menma, on the other hand, he was changing, his eyes flashing red. Deep breaths as Minato placed a hand on his shoulder. They couldn't afford for him to lose control right now as he started to tap into that power. He took several deep breaths as he started to calm down. However, it seems like Ino woke up earlier than expected as she stirred. The moment she saw Menma, her eyes widened. "No, stay away," she said, pulling herself as the machines that were attached to her, they broke the wires. She curdled on the ground away from him. "Ino, it's me. No, I beg you, Naruto, don't hurt me anymore. Please," she cried and begged. "Just leave." Menma tried to say something, tried to move in, but all she did was scream. Minato felt it best for him to leave for the moment, so they could calm her down as Inoichi and her mother tried their best. However, they had to put her back asleep. As they saw the heart monitor, everything was just too much for her right now. Menma left the location, tears in his eyes, as he went straight to a training ground. By the time Jiraiya arrived, Menma's fists were bloody, hitting the posts. As Jiraiya knew what he wanted, so they started to spar. He needed a way to release his frustration, to release his anger. By the end of it, which took hours, Menma was exhausted on the ground, and finally he broke open. "I don't know what to do," he said. As Jiraiya turned and faced him. "What are you talking about?" he said. "I don't know how to help," he said, looking toward the Sanin. I always knew that there was a problem. I always knew that I had to be the one to fix it. I know that I needed to protect the people I love, so I always pushed myself. But it wasn't enough when it mattered the most. And now, Ino, after what he did to her, the mere sight of my face, because it resembled that monster, it scared her. How am I going to help her? Can I even help her?" Jiraiya placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Listen to me, Menma," he said. "Things might look bad now, but you have to remember, you have time. Ino is back here, and she's alive. I know that She's not in the right state of mind now. But you, he said as he poked him in the chest. You're what she needs right now. You have to be there for her. I saw the both of you together. And I knew that there was something deep there between you two. And after what she's been through, she needs a link to what she once had. To show her that she's not alone. To show her that you're here. So, be that link. Be that person to bring her back out of the cold. We will stop Naruto. As powerful as he gets, with us working together, we will stop him. I won't let him hurt your family, even if it costs me my life. I had a duty from day one, much more than you. The moment I saw him once, I got that prophecy. I was the one that spoke to your father. And I knew there was a problem from day one, so if anyone is to blame, it is me. What you need to focus on right now is Ino, and helping her out of that cold. So come on. Let's see how things are going, he said. Menma took a deep breath, as he seemed to relax somewhat. Yeah, you're right, he said. Time skip. Ino slowly regained consciousness. Once again. This time there was her gaze, drifted towards the side of her bed that was occupied, a head resting on it. She looked down towards him as the words came out. Menma? He slowly stirred, her voice bringing him back out of his sleeping state. He's been here the entire time. Immediately his eyes snapped towards her, showing concern and worried. Ino, he said. She looked towards him as tears started to gather in her eyes. It's okay, he said. I'm right here. He's never gonna hurt you again. I'm right here, he said to her. I remember, she said. What I said to you. I thought, never mind that. It doesn't matter what happened. All I'm glad about is that you're safe. And you're back here with us, he said, looking at her with a smile. As he moved in slightly, cautiously, before he hugged her. She cried on his shoulder. As he held on to her, she cried into his shoulder. While that was taking place, an empty remote location, far, 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 within the hidden mountains, away from civilization, Naruto stood. Behind him was Orochimaru. What now? The Sannin asked. Now I finally break through that wall, said Naruto. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, and once I'm in, my body will be vulnerable, said Naruto, until I ascend. I will stay here and guard you. It doesn't matter how long it takes, the Sannin said, showing nothing but devotion. I know you will, said Naruto as he sat down and closed his eyes. Naruto found himself inside of Konoha, devoid of all life, devoid of all emotion, all colors, just pure darkness. He knew where to go as he headed straight to his home. Arriving there, he made his way towards his cell, his prison that he was kept in for most of his life. Sitting down on his bed was a replica of himself. However, this one was devoid of any eyes. There was nothing within the sockets. It's you, said Naruto. Ah, you remember me. His other half spoke. This was the embodiment of chaos itself. But the last time they spoke, they fused. How are you here? I thought you went away. I thought so too. However, it seems we were fated to meet again. After all, you're trying to ascend, are you not? That's correct, said Naruto. However, I've been unable to. Oh, I've noticed. Time and time again you try to break through the limitations that are holding back the full essence of chaos. but you fail time and time again. You want to know why? Well, that is the reason I'm here, said Naruto. I suppose you're right, said Chaos. Well, it's simple. It's all because of you. Naruto tilted his gaze as he looked at him. You're not fully the representation of chaos itself. We have not become one. You've just been using my powers. You've just been dabbling in the brink of chaos. You're not in the epicenter. You're not the one. And that's because you haven't killed your greatest enemy yet. Your greatest threat in your way. And who is that, Naruto said? Yourself. More like your humanity. In order to become me, in order for us to become one, for you to take the title of chaos itself, you have to snuff out that remaining humanity of yourself and transcend into something far beyond what you are now. And the only way to do that is to kill that part of yourself, something you've been unable to do thus far. In fact, I don't think you will be able to do it. As much as you carry on, it seems like you're not strong enough. And who the hell decided that, said Naruto? I did. Because as you can see, Naruto noticed the place started to change around him. I am what is holding you back. As Naruto looked at him with confusion, the next moment, Naruto was hit so hard. Every single bone in his chest, arms, legs broke on impact. He flew through the entire Hidden Leaf village, his body tearing through buildings. Naruto was crashed straight into the monuments, his body picking up with force, his head breaking through the first Hokage's nose. As Naruto lay there, agony and pain coursing through him, ripping his head out, Naruto dropped face first on the ground, his body slowly recovering, when he heard footsteps. When he looked up, there Chaos was. He stepped into Naruto's face. The mere notion collapsed the entire mountain as Naruto was buried under a pile. Chaos made his way as he sat down and waited. Naruto found himself healing extremely slowly. When he finally digged himself out, he was covered in bruises and cuts and leaking blood. Is that really what you've come to face me with? Chaos said. Is that really all you have to offer? Going by this notion, you will never become one with chaos. You will always be held back. As Naruto started to walk towards him, I've been planning and pushing myself day after day, physically, mentally, emotionally, to make sure I was ready for what I had to do. And now, you stand in my way as another obstacle, telling me that I am the threat, telling me that I am the problem. Well, as of all the threats I've faced so far, I will conquer you just like the others. Because nothing, not even myself, will stop me from getting what I deserve. As Naruto ran forward, in the outside world, Orochimaru sat. Hours turned into days, days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and months turned into years. The Sannin did not need to go to the bathroom. He did not need food. He didn't really need anything. After all, what he was now was far beyond what his modified body was in the past. And he did not age either. He sat there watching, not moving, just watching Naruto. Naruto's body took drastic changes as weeks turned into months. His hair started to grow longer, day by day. His body was maturing to its physical peak, pushing past limitations. Age was no longer a factor in what Naruto was. His body was maturing to peak, becoming what it truly was. A point where it would stop age and stop changing physically. And it was becoming beyond peak of evolution. The Sannin sat there and watched waiting and simply waiting on his master. As that was going on, a lot has taken place within Konoha and the Elemental Nation. The meeting that was set between the Kages was not a pleasant one at first. However, they came to the same agreement. At the moment, they had no idea where Naruto was. Ninjas from all the nations were on the look, trying to locate the boy, so they could get rid of the threat. The fact alone that he could take down a great nation as Kiri showed that he was a great threat. And Jiraiya fully believed that he intended to do the same to them all after all. He was able to use their corpses as allies, turning their dead relatives, comrades into his own. So they had to stop him. Past grudges were put aside for the moment. However, it has been 3 years and no one had laid a single eye on him. No one had found him. He was nowhere to be seen. The world was a really big place after all. During those 3 years, Menma had been training like crazy, pushing himself above and beyond. He was not alone, Mito was there as well. As for Ino, it took months for her to start to act like her normal self again. The mental trauma that Naruto did to her was really great. However, with her family, friends, and her loving boyfriend, she was able to push past and started to act like herself again. And after 3 long years, she was by Menma's side training, preparing for the worst, knowing that Naruto would come after them once again. So yes, the 3 years has been very eventful, as everyone had been pushing themselves immensely hard, knowing the threat that was right under their noses. However, there's been no sight or hearing of him. It was like he was dead. That would be grateful to many. Meanwhile, Naruto has not aged in the space that he was in. While it has only been 3 years on the outside, it has been 10,000 years since Naruto started to fight. And still, Naruto was nowhere close to defeating Chaos itself. Chaos was looking down at Naruto, who was lying on the ground. Have you finally given up, realizing that you're not worthy? That you're not deserving of what Chaos truly is? However, for the first time in the past 9 years, Naruto started to laugh. Yes, he started to laugh. He laughed once before in the previous year. And for the first time since then, he started to laugh. It's something funny, Chaos said. I guess I really am a dumbass, said Naruto. However, you've been messing with my mind as well, to try to prevent me, to see if my will was strong enough. Chaos simply watched him. But it seems like my will and determination is far stronger than what you originally believed. Isn't that right? Naruto said as Chaos did not speak. Naruto held his hand out before he plunged it into his own chest. He proceeded to rip his own heart out. As he stepped to Chaos, he grabbed Chaos' hand and placed his heart in his hand. You've been tampering with my mind the entire time. This wasn't just a physical battle, but mostly mentally. But now, after so long, I finally get what you mean. In order to ascend, I have to kill what I was, to give up my humanity. So there it is. It's all yours, said Naruto. Chaos' grin stretched so wide his face split open as his head moved back. He proceeded to swallow Naruto's heart. As he licked his lips, he then wrapped his arms around Naruto and held him tight as he whispered, "Now, we shall truly begin." Orochimaru saw his master finger twitch. As he looked at his finger, the Sannin finally got to his feet after so long. Was it time? Is it finally? Orochimaru felt something in the ear. when suddenly his master body was enveloped by a red glow. The Sannin had to step back as the entire mountain collapsed in on itself. The red glow was still hovering in the air as the Sannin flipped and jumped down on the stones that fell. He looked up, watching and waiting, when suddenly a monstrous roar reverberated throughout the entire planet. Not just that, the sky became pitch red, blocking out the sun. Everyone looked around confused. It didn't matter where they were. At Konoha, taller, older, blue eyes gazed into the sky. As Menma clenched his fists, he could feel it. Meanwhile, at the Yamanaka compound, what is it, honey? It was Ino's mother that was speaking to Inoichi. When she looked up as she saw the sky, placed a hand over her mouth, as everyone could feel a dreadful sensation. Ino opened her window from her room. As she stepped, she glanced up towards the heavens, when suddenly her eyes changed into red, and a smile graced her features. At the tower, Minato Namikaze looked up, his envoys behind him. As they all looked at the sky, at the hidden stone, Oniki floated upwards. At Kumo, the Raikage, looked up, feeling dread. At the sand, the current Kazekage gazed to the heavens. The siblings were nearby as well. As they all watched, the whole world was viewing what was taking place at the hidden rain. The leader, the god, looking through the eyes of one of his puppets, could see. What is this? His nearby confidant, Conan, flying in the sky with paper wings, spoke. Walking out of a cave a distance away, a man with an orange mask looked up. What is this? He said, as he could feel the unnaturally sensation permeating through the area. The place then started to shake. An earthquake, he thought. As he heard a sound vibrating through the air, it felt like his bones were vibrating inside of his own body. As he simply stood there and watched, knowing that something just wasn't right. The effects did not stop at the elemental nation. They spread far beyond. The problem was, they spread to something far more dangerous as well. A distance away from the elemental nation, on a higher plane, two pair of eyes opened up, as they felt it as well. Back on the elemental nation, Orochimaru stood there with a smile, seeing his glorious master back on his feet, well, technically in the air, as Naruto descended down. However, it wasn't a god coming to grace the elemental nation. It was chaos, as he grinned. But guys, if you end subscribe right here for what's next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Stay posted, but I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.